So greetings from Sierra Victor 1 Charlie Delta November, SV1 CDN. This is Dennis. QTH Athens, Cordalos to be exact, Kilo Mike 17 Tango X-ray, the QRA locator. Now I'm going to take 5 minutes of your time to show you what I've been, let's say, messing around, playing. I can't say experimenting. Hi. Well, I'm using one very simple trap bed dipole antenna for the HF bands. I'm using one SDR from RSP, the RSP Duo, and I'm using, of course, many people should have seen this, many colleagues, the SDR Uno, the software provided by the RSP company for their SDR. Now the the SDR Uno has a very good feature, very value-adding feature called the VRX, labeled VRX, virtual receivers. So right now I have the SDR Uno running with 3 VRX, 3 virtual receivers. You can see here their VFO, let's call it control panel, and the waterfall for every one of those receivers. The 3 receivers now, all they're operating on the same band, 20 meters, HF band. This receiver is operating at the VARAC frequency, 14105, USB 3 kHz, no AGC, you see here the settings, provision for this receiver. One more receiver is at 14074, the FT8, USB 3 kHz. And then there's one more receiver at centered at 14.070 with IQ out, so this one is not performing any demodulation. It's simply dumping out the digital IQ audio, let's call it, signal at a sampling rate of 192 kHz. It's centered there, so more or less it captures the whole band of 20 meters. More or less it's 80 kHz down and 80 kHz up. My interest, my, let's say, objective is to use this receiver to receive FT8, to use this receiver to decode and receive, we're talking about the receive only, okay, receive the VARAC transmissions, messages, exchange, and then to use this receiver to decode the CW with the CW schema software. And this, the key thing to notice here is this will be done at the same time. 3 receivers running at the same time, one SDR, one antenna. It's just this feature of the SDR Uno. And this is possible because every receiver like this one is dumping, let's say, the output, the audio output, in a different virtual audio cable. I'm using virtual audio cables. This one is dumping at line 3, this one is dumping at line 4, this one is dumping at I don't remember, it could be line 2 or something, but it's a different one. It's like having 3 different sound cards, physical sound cards. And then the cut also, if you notice, for this receiver the cut is at some virtual again COM port. I don't have that many COM ports. And then the virtual COM port for this one, the CW skimmer receiver doesn't need to have a cat. Now this one needs to have, because you know WSJTX doesn't work without a cat, or you need to do a lot of tricks to make it work. And VARAC, okay, I said give it a virtual port to do its stuff. So, okay, the receivers are ready, they're dumping out their output, the waterfall is working for me to view any signals. What about the actual programs? Let me start with the easy one, FT8, WSJTX, the usual program. You see here, this is decoding, 14074. It's decoding transmissions exchanged, and it's only dumping CQ here for me. The VARAC, if you never used it, go Google VARAC. There's one colleague for Zulu 1 Alpha Charlie who developed it. It's very, very interesting. Keyboard to keyboard communication, and also exchange mails, V-mails as they're called by the author. But anyway, I'm using it only to, let's say, sniff, only to capture what has been exchanged over the air, and in particular beacons and CQ codes. And VARAC is the front end. Behind the engine is actually the encoding decoding engine. It's the VARA HF from the Spanish colleague. And then where's the CW skimmer? Yep, here it is, CW skimmer. That's the CW skimmer running by the Canadian colleague Alex, who also developed the DX Atlas. Google it, CW skimmer. It's a very good. It can decode. If I show you here the settings, you'll understand, I believe. It's centered at 40070. You remember the first receiver, and it can decode. The sampling rate is 192 kilohertz, so it can easily decode the whole section of 20 meters band for the HF that's bound to be used for CW QSOs. And you can see already some CW calls. This Monday morning at 9 o'clock a.m. That's 6 o'clock UTC in Athens, as I said. So okay, so you're gathering stuff, you're using the receivers, you're gathering data, let's call it in IT terms. I'm uploading all these. I'm uploading all these to the PSK reporter. So if I go now to the PSK reporter site and I ask the PSK system to give me all the dump me all on the 2D map, dump me all the spots which I as V1 CDN have uploaded over the past 1 hour for 20 meters, it's going to show me this, or the FT8, I'm sorry. Octo is the Greek word. Hi. The coffee didn't kick in yet. So I'm getting to see what am I able to receive. I'm able to receive New Zealand, interesting, or some East Coast, US. East Coast is very difficult for me to take a off angle, it's 30 or something, while the East towards Japan and Australia, New Zealand, it's almost the horizon. So I get to understand what is going on with the band. Let's say I take a break when I'm working from home, and I say I'm not smoking, so instead of smoking, 5 minutes here. Let's see what the skimmers, I call them my dogs. What my dogs, FT8, PSK reporter, and what did they caught while I was working, and they did manage to get this out. That's 20 meters. What about VARAC? These are all the VARAC stations which I heard over the past 24 hours. And then I say, okay, what are the CW? You're gonna ask me. Okay, I upload the spots over to the reverse beacon network, and this is where you access their system in order to get some information out. And this is 20 meters CW CQDX, 60 minutes again. What SV1 CDN had spotted from his dog, the CW skimmer dog. Not that much, okay. And then of course I could be using some other stuff, like for example the ViewProp. That's ViewProp, a program developed by I think it's in New Zealand, or is it an African? Anyway, I think he's an Indian colleague living in some other area, like Africa or New Zealand. Anyway, it's free of course, as usual for the ham radio community. It's connecting to the CW skimmer. These are only CW spots, not about FT8 or VARAC, and it's gathering all the data from those spots. It's counting how many spots did my skimmer, my dog, captured. Yesterday, it was Sunday, there was a contest ongoing, so you can see there was a big, let's say, gathering of data, and the contest ended up on 12 UTC, so you see how the spots dropped. And this is 20 meter from this, the third receiver that I'm using in this computer, and I'm using a second computer which is gathering 50 meter CW again on spots. So ViewProp can show you this in a bar graph. It can even show you an SNR chart. Remember the red pinkies are the 20 meters, blue are the 50 meters. And it can even have a list, as I filtered it out here, the North American stations, which we're calling CQ, CW, 20 meters, even 50 meters, it's shown here. So I get this kind of, let's say, data you can say manipulation, data visualization, what is going on
CQ
with
from
all
Yankee
these
Lima 3
W
November
spots
Golf.
captured over 24 hours. And okay, this is good, but I like maps a lot, as you figured out probably.
CQ from Yankee Lima
And
3 November Golf.
this is the X-Atlas application of Alex, again, who made this W schema. And ViewProp is communicating, sending to the API of DX-Atlas all those spots, and these pop up in DX-Atlas as dots. Again, the pinkish ones are 20 meters, blue ones are 50 meters, like this one. So this is the summary of 24 hours of, let's say, spots gathering. I don't want to call it data gathering, by my dogs, by my CW schema. So I could have seen much less information here, but I decided then is look at the 24 hours to see what the station can hear in overall and how is, if you want to compare it with the propagation. There's an RTTY contest coming in next weekend, which I plan to participate in, and I was asking myself question, should I participate in 20 meters or 15 meters? I can do this, but I don't have the time to walk both bands, so it's better to QRV walk just a single band. And I've been trying to understand which band should I participate. And I've been seeing the blue icons here, the blue dots. I think it's going to be much better for me to get a higher score if I QRV in 15 meters, because I get a very many spots and much more opening. DX spots count more in a contest. And you can see here, although the time to QRV for 50 meters it's limited, it's not all the time compared to 20 meters. But anyway, you can ask the data, you know this stuff. We're Nokia. You can ask the data whatever you want afterwards, but you have to gather it at some point. And one last thing, and I'm letting you go. I'm sorry for cycling through the desktops. I'm using this virtual audio cable, the VAX that I was talking about before. And this is made by a Russian, not Hammer Radio Operator, but very good. It's a very good software. There are free ones, of course. And then I'm using the for virtual COM ports. I'm using the COM Windows 10 machine here. And the COM it's again a free, really old but reliable. It works days and nights if you leave it also. Two sets of COM ports connected, let's say back to back, transmit receive. So you understand that one receiver from SDR Uno is connected, let's say, I don't remember by heart, at COM12, and the FT8 is connected at COM13 for CAT. So FT8 communicates over CAT to the receiver, like with any traditional, not software receiver. But the key here is that with those three receivers simultaneously at the same time, I'm getting all those ports, which I couldn't do it in my traditional transceiver unless I had a double receiver. Okay, and of course, if you have resources in your PC, in your machine, the SDR Uno is taking very little resources. You can even spawn even more receivers for RTTY, for PSK, for some other digital modes, for SSTV. Be my guest. You can even spawn 6 of those. And then I stopped again. I didn't have any reason to spawn more than 6 in SDR Uno. SDR Uno is very thin, very light, and it does work days without any problem. That's it. So best of testing, experimenting, doing stuff, and enjoy. Base 73 from Dennis.